So I appreciate you bringing up Peter Singer earlier because I'm actually quite a fan of Peter Singer.
Do you agree with him that parents should be able to kill a child up to 3 months after birth?
Under exceptional circumstances, yes.
What would those exceptional circumstances be that you would agree that infanticide is okay?
If the child has a terminal illness that makes their life full of suffering and there's no hope of them being cured, then I think in that exceptional circumstance you can put the child out of its misery.
And you think you get to decide as a parent, the child doesn't get to decide?
Well, it is impossible for a 3-month-old child to meaningfully decide over its life.
How do you know that the 3-month-old child who will experience suffering in his life doesn't want to live? It has no will to live.
Have you?
Nobody can read the mind of a 3-month-old,
That's
but
right.
we can
That's why
try to infer as best as we can based on the evidence.
But aren't you then opposing what your will is, what you think you would want to happen on an innocent member of our species?
I mean,
who are
inevitably.
you to say that you're going to suffer? Because here's the deal, man. We're all going to suffer. Every single one of us suffers. That's actually part of being human. Our life is suffering. And we all suffer physically. Some of us suffer emotionally. Some of our suffering's public, some of it's not.
I don't deny that people suffer.
But because your argument's scary, because your argument is that, well, the child's going to suffer, therefore I get to decide, or society gets to decide whether or not it has the right to life. And I would argue that becomes a very slippery slope because all of us are going to suffer. That's part of the human condition. Our life is not free of suffering.
So I don't deny that human life has suffering, but human life also has immense pleasure, and for the vast majority of people, I think that the pleasure outweighs the suffering.
And people who suffer can experience immense pleasure too. So why would you choose? You just said you just said parents should get the right to decide if a 3-month-old child who's out of utero gets to live or die.
Are you aware of the idea of implied consent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if somebody, is unconscious, they're choking to death, I'm allowed to perform CPR on them because, in my best estimation, that's what they would want me to do. I think it also goes the other way around.
We try to preserve human life, right? You and I would act, even if that person was suicidal but choking, we would try to act to save their life, right? Because their life has value. And we would always act.
I think implied consent goes the other way around. If, in my best estimation, the person would not want to live, it would be wrong to artificially prolong their life. I also support the right of voluntary euthanasia, for instance.
Do you support the right of involuntary euthanasia?
Well,
so grandma has severe Alzheimer's. She doesn't know she's grandma anymore. And we live in Canada. And so all of us, we'll pretend we're in Canada, all of us are paying for grandma's very, very expensive memory care. So therefore, we should get to decide if grandma lives or dies. Do you think there's anything wrong with involuntary euthanasia?
In a case of very extreme Alzheimer's where the person is no longer of sound mind, yes.
Wow. What's going to be your profession, sir?
I want to go into artificial intelligence.
Okay, great. All right, well, at least you're not going to be a doctor. That gives me some hope for future medical decisions, because that's very scary. That's very scary that you would say that society gets to decide whether or not a human who has severe Alzheimer's, who is expensive to take care of, has the right to life, because the pro-life movements are our whole movement's argument.
And I think it's scary that a person, after they no longer have sound mind to control their own life, you would prolong their suffering, possibly against their will. Right? At that point, they can no longer consent either to live or not live. And so you're also arbitrarily deciding on their behalf. And I think it's scary.
We should always err on the side of life, of protecting human life. Because when we don't err on protecting human life, we begin to devalue human life. And
I agree that in most cases we should err on the side of life. But in exceptional cases where there's no hope of recovery, where we know that their life is full of suffering, I think it's cruel to needlessly prolong their suffering.
I think there's a point to every human's life. And even if you are suffering or you're in physical pain, there's a point to your life. And suffering can be used for good. Suffering can change your life and make you a better human. watching someone else suffer can change your life. I believe as a Christian, you can offer up your suffering as a very sacrificial prayer to intercede on someone else's behalf. And you don't have to believe that, because I'm religious, maybe you aren't. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is there's a point to suffering. And it's part of the human experience. And I think it's a very scary statement, what you just made, that you think that parents get to decide whether or not a child out of the womb gets to live or die. Because I have 2 children with cystic fibrosis. My child was diagnosed at 3 months, a little under 3 months, after he was born, that he had CF. 90% of children who are diagnosed in utero CF are aborted. And the reasons those children are aborted is for what you just said. They're gonna live, suffer, their life's gonna be suffer. They're gonna be in pain. You can make a cost benefit. The person previously talked about that. They're gonna be very expensive to our healthcare system. One of the pills my children are on costs about $500,000 a year. And many people would argue that people like my child, my son, and my daughter has CF, should have been euthanized or should have been aborted because their life's going to be shorter than ours. They're going to suffer in their life. And I would say that's fundamentally wrong, because if I was confident no one would shoot me, I would bring Gunnar or Gracie here. Gunnar and Gracie would tell you they have a tremendously awesome life. And they have an amazing life. And yes, they have to do things you don't have to do. And they have to go to the hospital for periods of time. But their life has meaning. And that's the primary point that the pro-life movement is making when we say abortion is wrong. Because all human life is equally valuable. All humans should get to experience the joy of life, even though all of us will suffer. And when we start to say, well, we can make laws to decide whether or not this human gets to be euthanized involuntarily or not, we start to change what it means to be a human who's protected. And when we do that, and throughout human history, when we have started to say this human can be protected, but this human shouldn't be protected, terrible, tragic things always unfold. This is one of the first steps of genocide, is the dehumanization of the other who's different than us. Because it allows us in our minds to justify an act of violence against somebody else that we say different. They're different because they have a different genetic code and they have cystic fibrosis and they're going to suffer. Therefore, involuntary euthanasia should be legal. They're different because of their skin color. They're different because of their heritage. All of these things always lead to genocide. And if you want the safest, you want the human rights moral foundation that protects humans, you have to be against abortion. Because at its core, abortion discriminates against another member of our species because of their size, their age, their location, their convenience to their parents. I would also argue it's oppressive to women who are told it's the only way they're going to succeed, because our society has been so freaking lazy for 50 plus years. We haven't had real conversations about how to support pregnant women and mothering women to finish their education, achieve their career goals. So I'd also argue that abortion is oppressive to women. But you can disagree with me on that or whatever. But this is the safest worldview to make sure that all humans are protected. Your question?
Sorry. I'm short. This is
right.
okay. Hi, ma'am. I want to, first off, thank you for coming out today. I appreciate conversations like this, and I'm sure a lot of us do. I'd like EJ to stop recording because I don't want my face or my voice on your phone. So if you could stop, because you've lied about having sex with me, I don't want that. Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, ma'am. So I have a question. So when you talk about abortion, you talk a lot about killing human life. And so for me, as somebody who's in an ethics class that talks about abortion, something that I've been interested in is I think a lot of abortion arguments are surrounding when life starts. So over there, you have 96 of biologists agree that human life begins at fertilization. So then my question is, if human life is a clump of cells, cell cultures, what do you think about scientists and researchers that use cell cultures in their research and then discard of them, like cancer cells or whatever it is cells, because they are very, very, very similar.
Sure.
In fact, they are human life in the same way that an
They're
embryo,
part of a
fertilized little eggy is. So question mark.
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So there's something different. So if I flick off skin cells right now, right, and we put them in a petri dish, these skin cells, this dead skin that I'm flicking off of my arm, those cells are living, right? They're part of a human. They're human.
Wait, you said
cells.
they were dead cells, though.
Oh, sorry. So it's live. Sorry, I'll do live.
Are they?
Or your hair is dead. But if you take
like let's say we take out
a biopsy of my liver. Do a biopsy of my liver.
Yeah, or we take out the bone marrow, some bone marrow.
Okay, fine.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
IVF.
Yes. Yeah. I know where you're going. So I'm just going to get to the definition.
Go to
right?
it. Yep.
Those cells that are living, right, and they're human cells. They're not a unique human. They're part of my body. They have my DNA, right? If you take my skin cells, my dead skin cells, and put in a petri dish, or you take my bone marrow, or do a liver biopsy, it'd be Kristan's DNA, right? It's not new DNA.
So then what about
human life? I know where you're going. So when we're talking about this University of Chicago study,
I was going to go to twins, to biological twins actually, because then those are not unique, right? We have two eggs, two embryos, and then the same. So then
but that doesn't. So when you're talking about twins, right? Which one is it, fraternal or identical?
Identical, probably.
Because fraternal is different, right?
Yeah.
So fraternal twinage, 2 eggs have been released and two sperms.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 unique humans. In identical twin, right? It's 1 human embryo that then splits into 2. But it was already human. Just the one split into 2, which is pretty freaking awesome if you think about that. Like we could actually do that. That's
but then that makes those 2 cells not unique.
But they are uniquely human. They are human. That's a human that never existed before with a unique DNA code. So when you're talking about IVF, that's your real question? Is IVF?
It could be because it applies to that as well.
I would say it is immoral. So I talked about cystic fibrosis, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people who are carriers for CF, like my husband and I, we're told to use IVF to conceive children. Why? It's eugenics, because what they will do is they screen the embryos, the new humans, in a lab, and then they will determine
which is
these
the
are
best.
The embryos that have CF, these are the ones that want. And then what they do is they'll say, we'd like you to donate the humans in embryonic form, or zygotic form really, to a research lab to experiment upon them. And we're gonna experiment upon them, see the certain medicines, how it holds up. I would say that's immoral. That's human experimentation, because those are my children. They have a unique DNA code. They've never existed before, nor will they ever exist again. And we're experimenting upon them.
So it's the DNA code. It's the unique DNA code for you that makes it. No, that's why I'm here. No, and I appreciate that. So for you, what you're saying is that it's the scientific genetic DNA code that is individual to a zygote or to a clump of cells that makes them human, in your opinion. I see where you're coming from. So then my question goes, does this argument only apply to humans? Are we special? Because also earlier I heard you say to somebody else, like, what gives you the decision to live, to make the choice to kill somebody? So then my question to you is, what gives you or any of us the decision to be like, oh, these human zygote cells are special, but then we can experiment on rats, on rat or animals or monkeys or all these other living creatures, and they're zygotes, and not even like they're in my opinion a lot more living bodies, because I personally don't believe a zygote is yes.
So there's different. You can't just keep saying zygote. It's a human in zygote form.
Okay.
See,
but that's where we disagree.
There's types of zygotes.
Absolutely.
Zygotes.
Exactly, and so that's what I'm saying. That's where we disagree. That's where we disagree. I don't think that would be a human or a dolphin, but the different zygotes. So then I'm asking you, do you make a distinction? Do you make a distinction between human zygotes are more valuable than any others? Why? What gives you the decision to put human life above any other life if we're trying to value all life the same?
We think that all humans are. This is the argument, the fundamental argument.
Yeah, it's humans.
All humans. You see,
why not all life? That's my question.
If I was agnostic or atheist, I couldn't answer your question for you, because if I believed all human life, if I believe that there's no point to any life, that we are all just like this huge cosmic mistake, I don't think I could argue philosophically, to be philosophically consistent, that humans are more special than dolphins.
I understand.
But I'm going to make a metaphysical argument. Now, I'm saying...
Thank you. I love that. Yes, go for it, please.
And you don't have to be religious to make this argument, because I have atheist friends who make the same argument.
Go for it.
I believe that humans are special. That humans, as a Christian, I would say, and you can be Jew, Muslim too, we believe that there was an entity that created us. And we were created in that entity's image. And what we believe is that we are more special. Not that animals aren't special.
I understand what you're saying,
but
yes.
we are more special. Now, Peter Singer, go back to Peter Singer, right?
Okay.
He wants to be philosophically consistent. So did you read Practical Ethics 101 in your morality class?
No, I didn't. And ma'am, I do have to go, and more people want to ask questions. I want to say I disagree with most of, if not all of your points. But thanks anyways. Have a day.
You've been waiting patiently. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay, I need to ask, he left, but somebody had a question. He was wondering if you had any exceptions to
Sure.
being pro-life, like rape.
Sure. Yeah, this is a hard question, right? So we believe that women are as equally valuable to the child in the womb. It's not that the child, sometimes the pro-life movement gets accused of being more, like that we ascribe more rights to the child than the mother. That's not the case. Because that's why abortion is difficult, because it's a conflict of rights of two people who we believe are equally valuable. And people will disagree about this. But it is generally believed in the pro-life movement to be philosophically consistent that a child who was conceived in sexual assault should not be given the death penalty for his father's crimes.
So
That would be rape and incest. Now, there are lawmakers who call themselves pro-life who will disagree with me. And I have offered over and over again, I will gladly work with someone who disagrees with 97% of abortion but thinks it should be legal in rape and incest. I will gladly come across that and work with that person. Normally, though, when this conversation comes up, I hear it from people who also agree in convenience abortions, which is 97% of abortions. So it's usually brought up as a way to not address the vast majority of abortions. But in good faith, I'm going to assume you're actually asking this argument because you want to know.
Yeah.
And we would say abortion because the Supreme Court has said that the death penalty is too severe of a crime for a rapist. That's what our Supreme Court has said. Why would we subscribe the death penalty to a child who didn't ask to be conceived? And by the way, will suffer his or her life because he or she will know his father is rapist. But I have friends who are conceived in rape, and that doesn't change their value.
So to clarify, if he was specifically talking about his friend, so his friend who was 16, who's raped, she would have to, and you're ethically, morally, you believe that she would have to conceive that child as a...
She's already conceived. Because someone said earlier,
give birth
we choose reproduction. You don't get to choose reproduction. It happens. And you can choose whether or not to keep that reproduced human alive. No, that's definitionally wrong. But here's the deal. The pro-life movement does not believe that a child, a 16-year-old girl, should be forced to parent this child.
But
or
she
have
should
to
be forced to give
We
birth.
believe that she should be courageous enough, and we believe she is capable to carry a child within her for 9 months so someone else can have 90 years. Now, we do not believe she should be forced to parent the child because she was also not only was the child created without consent, she was violated in the worst imaginable way possible.
Okay.
And she didn't engage in a behavior knowingly that could lead to reproduction.
I just wanted to establish that if anyone wanted to build off of it, but I did have my own question.
Sure.
So you believe that so you believe that all humans have a right to life? What would you say grants humans the right to life? Because I would say that, for instance, brain dead patients who are human and biologically alive considered, but have no chance of coming back to that state, I wouldn't consider pulling the plug to be some kind of action that should be granted immoral and illegal.
I think the pulling the plug thing has to be taken, and I think it is in some hospitals it's not, with great consideration, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a question, too, of a mere removal of support versus an active killing.
Okay.
Abortion is not I'm just going to disconnect this human. That's not what abortion is. Abortion is an intentional act of violence that ends the life. If you're talking about a person who has brain death, and you say, listen, we've given this person every shot to come back, we're supporting this person, but we really believe that there's no brain function, the brain function is not going to be restored, they are gone. Removing them from the ventilator, right? And allowing them to see, can they breathe on their own? That's vastly different than going in with a sofa clamp and intentionally dismembering a human. Do you see the difference there?
I do want to ask, this is my original question, but again, what grants humans, all humans, this special right to life that you don't grant, for instance, animals? Because I would say that in your philosophy, you're saying that all living humans have a right to life, correct? But
that's the pro-life philosophy.
Hypothetically, if we had some alien species that, had the same capabilities as us, intellectually, consciousness, sentient, they had all of that, you wouldn't ascribe them that right to life?
I mean, you would have, I don't believe in aliens, so I would think that's like a made-up
But it's
scenario.
a hypothetical. It's
but if you talk
your
about
ethics.
like a cow, so talk about Peter Singer, right?
Well, I'm talking
Peter
about that
Singer's
alien
about, like,
species.
a
Would
crocodile.
Somebody of the same intellectual capacity, same sentience, perception, whatever.
I think that'd be a great ethical debate to have.
Would you grant them the right to life?
I probably would.
You would. Okay, so it's not restricted to humans.
But I would say,
what factor?
I would have to, like I said, that's an ethical debate, and I don't believe in aliens.
Okay,
so.
what factor between both humans and that species then? Do they share in common that makes you grant both a human species and that species a right to life? If we believe that they were also
created by, my argument would be in a made-up world of aliens, because you can have an argument that does the same creator that made humans make that
the same creator made chickens, but you also believe that it's ethical to,
Yeah, I eat
right.
meat. Yeah. Now, like I said, if I was an atheist, I'd have to be a vegan. I'd have to live my life as a vegan. Because how would I be able to say that human life is more valuable than a cow's life, right?
So,
but I believe that that humans are more special because we were created in the image of something.
So really, your argument about right to life? Yeah.
I'm a
no, it's true.
According to Peter Singer,
Okay.
I will fully own that. I'm a speciesist because I believe humans are more special than members of the animal kingdom. Not that the members of the animal kingdom don't have value and that they don't have rights. I actually do believe that they have rights.
But not a right to life.
I think that we have more rights than them.
Why?
Because we were created in the image of a universal maker, of a God.
Okay.
But like I said, you don't have to be religious to believe that, because I have a lot of atheists and secular friends who would absolutely disagree, and they believe that we were all created by an accident, who would still argue that humans are more special.
I mean, I negate that argument because
are you legislating these rights that all
I believe gay and trans people, like everybody else, have an equal right to life and should not be killed. It's called banning abortion. Yeah.
For actual alive, living, breathing, older than the age of
see, now you're being you're wrong. The child in the womb is alive. You said actual alive. A human in the womb is actually alive.
So rewind. Current, post-birth. Are you advocating?
Yes, I believe gay and trans people should not be gunned down in the streets or killed because they are equally valuable. Do you believe Charlie Kirk has an equal value right to life?
So still, rewind, because
let me ask you, because that's something you probably disagree with. Do you believe my friend Charlie? Do you think he deserved an assassination?
No, he was a Nazi. That's not a good conversation.
That's actually not true.
I'm just
What's
gonna
your
say
proof
something.
that Charlie was a Nazi?
That he advocated for the death of trans and gay people. He advocated for the death
he did not. That's actually been disproven multiple times.
Okay, that's not the conversation that I came to have with you.
Okay, because you can't defend it. Okay.
No, it's because I don't want to defend it.
Say something terrible about somebody who was just assassinated. Why can't you just say that
because he was
I disagree?
Nazi.
So you think he got what he deserved?
Yeah. Hi to the camera. Hi to the camera.
Do you hear what you're saying?
Yeah, I do.
You just said a father of two.
Oh my God!
Got what
Oh
he
my
deserved.
God! Oh my God! A father of two. He wanted his child to carry a baby if they got raped. Wait, no! Look at me! No! Look at me! Look at me! Look at me!
Oh, I'll look at you.
He said that if his 9-year-old daughter got raped, he would make her carry that baby to term. Is that something you agree with?
Yes. My daughter got raped. The most unimaginable tragedy I can imagine. I don't think sexual assault and the conception of a new human being justifies killing the human being, because that's discrimination, ma'am. I'm against the death penalty in all cases, and why would I ascribe the death penalty to a child in the womb?
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful.
Well, you just said that my friend got what he deserved. I want you to
did.
back that up.
Yeah, because he
When
was
did
a
that
fucking
end?
Nazi who was advocating for violence,
He
bro.
was not a Nazi. He never advocated for violence. That is purely
He never
false.
advocated for violence.
No. How many cities burned after Charlie was assassinated? How many violent things happened? If he was
Bro,
actually
black
advocating
students were
violence,
lynched on campus. Violent things happened after he died. Yeah, don't look like you're. Don't look
black
at me.
students were lynched on a campus.
Yeah, there were people hung from trees on campuses. So maybe read the news.
Okay, but you won't get to delete.
Why would anyone lynch a black person on a campus for shooting Charlie? It was a white person who shot Charlie. That makes
That's such
no
a good
zero
question.
sense.
No, and that's such a good question.
And that's wrong. First of all, that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It did not happen. Just like how Charlie wasn't a Nazi. Just like how Charlie didn't advocate for violence. But lynching human beings is wrong. And that's the whole point of the pro-life movement, is that all human beings have unique value and right to life. They're all valuable. So lynching humans for any reason and at any time period of our human history has always been wrong. Even though it was allowed in many of our states, it's always been wrong. Because our legality does not make our morality.
No, I agree.
But
So you disagree with Charlie's friends and Trump administration who say Tyler Robinson should be executed for?
well, Charlie's wife is actually against the death penalty. Yesterday, when Erika Kirk announced to the whole world that she forgave Tyler Robinson, she also did an interview with the New York Times. And in the interview, she said she does not want to be part of that because she's against the death penalty. I'm against the death penalty because I think all human beings are equally valuable. And even when I believe you pretty much have forfeited your right to exist in a free and open society, I still think your life is still valuable because you have the ability to repent. And because we know throughout our history, people have been wrongly accused and tried by a jury of their peers and found guilty, we should not prescribe the death penalty. That's also why I'm against giving the death penalty to babies in the womb.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. What time do we have to go?
You have 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Well, this definitely won't take 10 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah. I had to go get fitted for a bulletproof vest because some people think that if they disagree with the views of someone, that it justifies killing them.
All right.
So that's a pretty sad state. She
Okay.
justified murdering my
Well, she doesn't have
friend.
the mic anymore, so let's keep this between us. Like, let's just lock in.
Sure, let's ignore someone, just dehumanize a human being and justify their murder. Cowards.
Okay. So
Yes,
you
right.
obviously
He's an
seem
eternal being now because he's in heaven. He's a saint.
you seem like you know your facts that you're talking about. You
Yeah,
seem
he's
like,
martyred.
Yeah.
If you're martyred, you're an
No.
instant saint. Go ahead.
Okay. You know your pro-life stats. You know what I mean?
Kind of what
But
I
I
do.
think exactly this is what you do. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that you
I'm
do
kind of
this
an expert in
under.
this.
Great. I think this is under a
Do you have a
an
question?
ambition for free speech. But I think the dangerous part is that after it leaves this group of 30 people, it goes to your linked Instagram.
Yep.
And the only discourse is you clipping, because you get to control these clips.
That's right. It's actually him.
This guy gets to control these clips. So if somebody makes a good argument, you get to decide what goes to the. I'm looking at them. Every single
yeah,
video
those videos have
is
changed
discourse.
tens of thousands of minds and have saved lives.
But I'm saying after this group,
Yeah. That's
it's
why
not about
that's
discourse.
why I
It's
stand
not
you
about
all.
discourse anymore. It's you are just a piece of propaganda. You're just clipping people
Yeah.
to make other people look bad and to incite anger and to incite.
You think I incite anger?
I think
by
that's
putting
exactly
up
what I'm
clips
saying
of
you do.
people making illogical arguments.
If there's a,
for
I
abortion?
doubt that the clip. Well, yeah, I doubt wholeheartedly that the clip of you talking with that girl about her ethics 101. That's not gonna make it to this.
Well, because
it's
you
gonna
all
be.
only watch videos that are 30 seconds or longer.
Don't
by
say
the way.
you-
I love to do full clips, but I can't because your all's attention span.
Well,
is
I
so
definitely
short.
am not one of your 322,000 followers. Your
I
followers
actually
are
have
people that already agree with
352,000
you.
If you go to my page. Just saying.
I think that this is dangerous for discourse. I think
do you
that
think
you
this
do it
speech
under.
should be banned?
No, I'm not talking about legislation. I'm just
You
talking
said
about. Don't you feel
dangerous.
embarrassed? Don't you feel ashamed of yourself? Like it's just.
Is that your question? No, I don't feel ashamed because why? I've met children who were going to be aborted and are
I was
actually
here
alive
I was here a while
today.
ago. I heard all that.
Okay,
I'm
so you don't
talking
wanna
about your
listen to me,
clipping,
okay.
ma'am. I'm talking about your editing. I think
Do you feel
it's sketchy.
embarrassed by clipping videos, Kevin?
No, because I have a strong moral compass in making sure I don't take people out of context. And people make it really, really easy for me to show obviously what they're saying. And
There's
so if
nothing
you watch,
calm here.
So if
There's
you
nothing
watch our
calm.
videos, a lot of times I will do a split screen the whole time through to prove that I'm not editing out content.
Yeah. Can she ask a legitimate question? She's been saying here.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Okay, and then I'd go, yeah.
I just want to say, first of all, I condemn all political violence, and I believe all of us should. I think what happened a few weeks ago legitimately was a tragedy. And I admire
Thank you for
you,
saying that.
even though I disagree with you, I admire you for getting up here and expressing your convictions and what you believe.
Thank you for saying that.
And in fact, in the spirit of having dialogue, I want more explanation because I recognize that the people around this circle, we don't all agree on this issue and probably on other issues, right? And I kind of, assuming that most of the people here have good intentions and that you certainly do, I want to kind of see where we have our disagreement, and I kind of want to identify the point of disagreement that everyone around this circle
I can do that.
has with you.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to ask you, where do you think the people around this circle, what do you think the position that they disagree with you on?
Sure.
Not the ultimate position, obviously, because I think we all know what that is, but where do you think the people around this circle
Thank you,
disagree with
sir.
you?
I think ultimately, in all the arguments you hear in support of abortion, it comes down to one thing. What is it inside of the womb? Because we'll hear like biologically wrong things, right? It's not human, it's not alive. That's been disproven over time and time again. The argument of all of this comes down to, is the human in the womb special and have rights just like the rest of us? Does it have value? That is the fundamental question, whether you're talking about rape, whether you're talking about consciousness, whether you're talking about poverty, it all comes, because listen, if I believed what's inside of a mother when she's pregnant is nothing but a meaningless clump of cells, then by all means have as many abortions as you want. But when you come to believe that all humans are equally valuable, and we know at the moment of conception, that's when you became a human. When you want to be philosophically consistent, then you're called to speak up. That, my friend, I believe is the whole disagreement. Because some people here will be like, oh, I think abortion should be legal, but I kind of disagree with it at third trimester. And other people here will be like, well, I disagree with abortion when the baby can feel pain. Everybody here might have a different defining point. There's other people here who are like, kill the baby. Someone said kill them all earlier, right over here, right? Everyone disagrees kind of where the line is. But I think if you to have this argument, you can't have these lines because it creates a sliding scale of human rights. Either you're a human at conception with value or you're not. And if you start saying value only comes from certain abilities, you create a sliding scale that I can apply to also out of the utero humans.
So
that's the argument.
Why do you put the line where you do?
Because that is where biologically you came into existence. There is no other point where you became you than at conception.
Right, because as soon as I'm conceived, I'm a Homo sapien, correct?
Yes, you're a member of our species. You have a unique DNA code.
I fully agree with that, and I believe every Homo sapien on this planet, every human has absolute ability to, and has rights, right? I believe in equality of everyone.
Yep.
I guess my question comes from where, so we had that example earlier of the alien. Or you said you don't necessarily believe in aliens.
Yeah.
So I would say, suppose through some other process, a different sentient creature would come around. I don't know if you believe in intelligent design or evolution. Can I ask which?
Well, I believe in intelligent design, right? We
were
created by...
Okay, so if an intelligent designer were to create another sentient being,
I think
they wouldn't be a Homo sapien, so presumably. So do you think that sentient being...
And that's why I said earlier, that would be a really interesting moral argument. Is this a being that was created with the designers in the designer's image?
Yeah,
right?
so I'm giving the...
So like if I believed in aliens, and I believed on Mars there's a colony of beings, I would probably argue that they have a right to life, because I'd say maybe they were created in the image of the creator too. I don't know. I would always try to err on the side of caution. And I think that's what's interesting about the pro-life movement is I'm always erring on the side of human life. Why did I change my position on the death penalty? It wasn't because I'm a super nice person, right? I think Tyler Robinson should be hung or killed. I wish that, but I can't, because as a Christian, as someone who knows that human rights start at the moment of conception, Tyler is still a human. And I don't think we can, as a society, say he now can be killed. Now, I have friends who would disagree with me on that. I think he should listen to Charlie Kirk videos for the rest of his life in a solitary confinement, because once again, I'm not that nice of a person. I can find a way to torture him. But I think I have to err on this. The reason I changed my opinion on the death penalty years ago is because it is proven that there have been people who've been put on death row and have been executed who were innocent, especially before we knew about DNA, right? DNA evidence. And out of an abundance of caution, maybe it only happens 1 out of 10,000 people, because I care about that one person so much, I can't be pro-death penalty. I'm erring always on the side of human life and the valuableness of human life. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
She has a question, and I have to go. I'm sorry. Like
Hello.
I said. Hello.
I grew up a very devout Christian. My family
Are you still a
very
Christian?
devout. I'm still a Christian. I'm not quite as devout because I recognize some inconsistencies, specifically within the Catholic Church. That's how I grew up. I want to bring up the example of the Croatian genocide. In World War II, Catholics slaughtered many Serbs. Through very violent means, such as beheading.
Yeah.
The Christian and the Catholic Church is quite infamous for having some perverted leaders. That's just well known as well. There's a lot of Christian perpetrated violence.
All Christians are
violence against queer people.
Sure.
I'll walk down the road.
What does that have to do with abortion? I agree with what you're saying.
I'll walk down the road.
Christians are also sinners, and Christians have done terrible things.
I'll get there.
Okay.
I will walk down the road and get called a dyke, and I'm wearing a cross around my neck.
I'm sorry that happens to you.
Thank you. I'm just wondering how we can accept certain versions of Christian violence and then turn around to something like abortion and say this is not okay, when we have not questioned.
We don't accept that violence. We would say,
but we do.
I agree with you.
Did you even know about the Catholic genocide of Croatians?
There's lots of things that the Catholic Church has done, or people who are Catholic, that is wrong. There's been a lot of things that Muslims have done that are wrong, right?
Sure.
There are things that Jews have done that are wrong. Because all of us are sinners. It doesn't matter what religion you belong to. I can universally say human beings are sinners. But we believe all human beings are equally valued. It doesn't matter what religion the child is going to be. This child, even if this child is born and then baptized Catholic, it doesn't mean that child lost human rights because some Catholic in some part of the world has done something wrong and has sinned. That person is wrong. That person needs to account for their sins and beg for forgiveness. But this is an innocent member of our species.
I do hear what you're saying, but I'm not talking about Jews, I'm not talking about Muslims, I'm specifically talking about Christians. Christianity can be very violent. I'll bring back the example of gay people.
Sure.
We extract many rights from gay people. For example, I will not be able to get married in the church that my mom and my grandmother wishes for me to get married in.
You can't force your beliefs on a church. You can't force.
So why are you trying to force your beliefs on a whole population of people?
Because this is a human moral argument. But I said multiple times before you came up, I'm actually not here making a religious argument. I've been making a scientific argument. These are members of our species. They are unique, whole, living entities, never existed before, will never exist again. And this is where human rights starts. And we can't take away human rights because Christians have done, because you don't have to be a Christian to know this biology. You can be a Jew, you can be a Muslim, you can be an atheist, you can be Buddhist or Hindu, whatever. It doesn't change. This is the same for all of us because we're all members of this species, Homo sapien.
Sure. Yeah, I know you have to go, so I'll just close you off on one thing. That little tiny baby, it's not normally that size, actually. It's normally a clump of cells, and it looks like a human form, like that. Also, unique DNA at fertilization.
Yep.
No DNA is unique. It, in fact, comes from a very long line of people.
It's a unique code, right? Because it comes from mom and dad.
Which translates to unique DNA, which thus does not exist.
Never existed before.
But we understand.
You're individual from him and from her. There's something different about each of us that comes from our DNA. I have to go.
Talk about Luca.
I'm sorry you were hurt.